Alright, welcome to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk to you about UFC at Vegas 49, or whatever. Islam Makhachev versus Bobby Green. There were 11 fights altogether. I'm just going to talk from the top, going down to the bottom. Starting at the top, Islam Makhachev defeats Bobby Green in the first round, about 3 minutes into the round. I don't know. I don't write this shit down, but that was dominance. That was exceptional. You know, Bobby Green stepped up on short notice and yada yada and whatever. Nobody's run through Bobby Green like that. This was really impressive. And Islam, I want to say, I do think he's the best lightweight on the planet. I do favor him to beat anybody. Charles, Gaethje, Poirier, you name them. I favor Islam to beat them all. I think Charles Oliveira presents a very unique challenge, a very unique skill set. That, you know, I make him sound like fucking Liam Neeson, but he does have a very unique skill set. He's very good on the bottom, kind of like Joel Alvarez, you know, against Armen Tsarukyan. But if that tips you off, that's where I'm inclined to go with that fight. I think Islam's going to be too much even for Charles. But I'd still love to see him fight Charles more than anybody. For Islam to run through Bobby Green like this was just very impressive. Bobby Green, he's lost via submission, I think, 13 years ago, 12 years ago, to Dan Lozon. But it didn't look like this. This was just your prototypical MMA fight. The type of shit we'd see in the 90s left and right. Not that I watched it in the 90s, but takedown, mount, ground and pound. It's either ground and pound or a rear naked choke. That's how I see him beating anybody. Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, whoever. It's going to come from the back mount or the full mount. And I just see Islam being a grappling powerhouse. He's just got too much. He's got too much for anybody on the mat. As for Bobby Green, this was a rough setback. You know, he gets all the bonus points in the world for stepping up, just like Dan Hooker did. But look at how you look at that Dan Hooker loss. You know, you remember the Kimura. You remember going, fuck, that wasn't much of a fight. All the hype was kind of just sucked out of that fight. You know, I mean, obviously, it's what happens with most fights, but the shine kind of wore off once it was a dominant loss, a lopsided loss for Dan Hooker. And that's kind of what's going to happen here with Bobby Green. He's still like a bit of a fan favorite and whatever, but it's not the same. You know, I wanted to see him do better. I'm sure he, of course, did too, but Islam was just too good and kind of took the shine from Bobby's moment. I think we all expected him to lose, but I know I didn't expect him to lose like that. I was picking him to lose at like the 7-minute mark, the 12-minute mark or whatever, but not the 2-minute mark or the 3-minute mark. Anyway, Bobby did step up. He was the fan favorite here for a reason. He's the guy that's been unheralded, under the radar. The king of the split decision loss after Jorge Masvidal. But this was a shitty main event for him, you know. I'm glad he got his face and name on the poster. He's got something to tell his kids and show his kids and whatever. But this was not his best night at the office. This was his worst night at the office. The UFC office, anyway. But, yeah, overall, Bobby Green, he'll stick around. He's still riding high, I want to say. One of the higher points. Well, I guess the highest point of his career. And he's going to have plenty of matchups against young contenders, old veterans. He was supposed to fight Jim Miller a few fights ago. Here comes my cat. Go ahead, show everybody. She wants no part of this. Here she is. Okay. Yeah. But Islam Makhachev, everybody should be excited for. That guy, I want to see him fight nobody else but the champion next. I want to see him fight the champion. My cat's eating right by the camera. You're going to hear her, right? She's coming by to eat. Okay. Misha Cirkunov versus Wellington Turman. This was a very fun fight. This fight was atypical for Misha Cirkunov and Wellington Turman. But Misha Cirkunov, his losses are defined by his chin failing him. Or really just, you know, I don't know if you want to call it him quitting or whatever, checking out. But it always comes with punches where he makes that decision. If not, his brain shuts off. This one came in the second round via armbar. Wellington Turman, we know he's got jiu-jitsu. I was like unsure if you watched the video of how the jiu-jitsu would go in this fight. And pretty much it went, I mean, they both showed that they had distinct advantages. Misha Cirkunov can work a choke series on just about anybody, I think. He's a really good grappler and he's got good judo. But Wellington Turman was a smoother submission grappler. You know, he's the better jiu-jitsu artist too. Held that guard and just locked up an armbar out of nothing. Really, I should say, in the first round, I was quick to dismiss him once he lost the back control. I said, all right, that's it for him in this fight. This one's going Misha's way. And he stood in there. He took his ass kicking at the end of round 1. Round 2, he was taken down and hit the armbar pretty quickly, like a minute into the round, I think. And you hear her chewing. It's all right, Avery. It's not such a good video anyway. You do whatever you got to do. All right. But yeah, sucks for Misha Cirkunov. I want to say that's probably it for him. Maybe not. But it's not looking good. Wellington Turman, he sticks around. And he's got some life in his UFC career. And yeah, it really does suck for Misha Cirkunov. You know, I really like watching him fight. I kind of like glass cannons. There's nothing better. And even though his chin survived this time, it just, he, you know, found a way to lose. Not to put it all on him, because Turman had something to do with it. But nevertheless, you know, both these guys are really good fighters, and one of them had to win. Priscilla Cachoeira versus Jiyong Kim. This one was a pleasant surprise, because I bet on Cachoeira to win a decision. I don't know. I saw what I wanted to see, so I saw the possibilities, but I looked at the media scores, and of course, the commentators were all over it. Maybe it wasn't the best decision, you know, but all I was looking for is validation throughout the fight. Can she win this? Is it possible? And I want to say that round 1 and round 3 were valid. They were valid wins. Doesn't mean they were just. But I guess it does mean they were just. Doesn't mean they were probable. You know, I feel like you take any group of 3 people out of a random 100 or whatever. Most of them are going to be siding with Jiyong Kim. But Priscilla Cachoeira, she created moments. She created moments in round 1 with a few big strikes, but really the takedown, I think. Did she hit a takedown? I don't know. And then round 3, I know she pressured Jiyong Kim and hurt her. So she was thoroughly outstruck. It really reminded me of the first few rounds of Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping 2, where Dan had just a few moments, but they were big moments. And everything else was Bisping winning at range. And that's pretty much how this fight went down. But look, Cachoeira, she's an opportunist. Just like Alejandro Perez, who almost stole that fight. But this was just like that fight in a way, but one that ended up going to Perez, so to speak. And Cachoeira got a well-earned decision. You know, even if you don't think she deserved it, she certainly earned it. She put herself in a position to win a fluky decision. And she did that. She fought her ass off. She was beaten up. But and look, Jiyong Kim hits very hard too. Not as hard as Cachoeira, but she was, I mean, if you hit her 3 times as much or whatever, it sucks. And Cachoeira stood in there and fought tooth and nail and won what I think will go down as a bullshit decision. But whatever. I won like $14, so you won't hear me complaining. Next up, Armen Tsarukyan versus Joel Alvarez. This was like the fight fans' main event. The people's main event. And it was a prolonged ass-kicking. And when I say prolonged, I mean it was like 7 minutes long or something. But that was still too long. It was an ass-kicking. From the moment he hit that big elbow on Joel Alvarez, it was just like a prolonged finishing. You know, we knew the finish was coming, and it just took a while. They ended up letting the fight go, patched him up a little bit between rounds, but that was it. You know, he couldn't see. Once he was on the ground in round 2, he was overwhelmed. And I forget, I think it was Keith Peterson, I don't know, Herb Dean. Nah, I don't know. But they let it go on a little bit. He let it go on, whoever the ref was. But it was just too much for Alvarez. And I think, maybe it ended in the crucifix, or it was near the crucifix. But it was just positional dominance from Tsarukyan. Positional dominance that he didn't have in round 1, but he got pretty quickly in round 2 and maintained. Because Joel Alvarez wasn't the same fighter. I don't want to make it sound like he, you know, saw his own blood and flipped his shit and he just shit the bed. No, he was still trying to fight and whatever, but he couldn't see. His eyes were fucked up. He was fucked up and I'm sure hurting. And he was probably weak because he lost like 25 gallons of blood. So, anyway, they're both future contenders. I don't know about contenders, but future, they both have futures in the UFC. I want to say bright futures. I don't know who Alvarez is fighting, but he's taken a step down. And I think he's going to win his next fight against a step down. Tsarukyan, I think he's going to win his next fight. Step up. I think that guy is Islam Makhachev's best victory as of now. I think he's a very tough test for anybody in the world. And I really hope they don't book him against fucking Chris Gritzmacher or someone like that. No offense to Grits. But for the love of fucking Pete, could we see this guy fight somebody awesome? I mean, I guess we did with Joel Alvarez, but somebody ranked who's fucking awesome. I really hope Alvarez wasn't ranked, but whatever. Anyway, the sky's the limit. Islam Makhachev might be the limit for Tsarukyan, but he is one of the best fighters in the world. He said he wants to come back around July or August or whatever. Please hurry the fuck up. Come back in June. Come back in May. Alright. Gregory Rodriguez versus Armen Petrosian. This was a very interesting fight. It was pretty goddamn close. You know, I thought Gregory Rodriguez won. To be honest, I don't think I looked at the scorecards for this one. But I scored it for Rodriguez. And I thought, man, that fucking head kick where he kicked Petrosian's face and shattered his face. He like just, I don't know. He kicked him in the nose and shattered his nose. There was just blood all over the place. And then within the next 10 seconds, he takes him down, slips to his back, and rolls over into a Suluev stretch. That was one of my favorite sequences that I've ever seen in MMA. It's just fucking awesome. You know, it wasn't that quick, like it was all one transition. Like I said, there were 10 seconds or so, but that was just fucking awesome. And maybe that just impressed me so much where I gave Rodriguez the nod. But there were a few close rounds there, you know. They were all close rounds, I feel like. And I did think Rodriguez would win via submission. But I also bet a little bit on Petrosian via knockout. and I was wrong about everything. But still, we got to learn a lot about both fighters here. Rodriguez is tough. He's very well versed. And he is fucking powerful, too. That didn't really show up tonight, didn't produce results, but you could see it. And Petrosian, look, regardless of what I or you think about the decision, that's a guy in his UFC debut taking out a pretty damn good fighter. And he's only got, I think, 7 fights now. So, really good win for Petrosian. That means he's got a future in the UFC already. Even if he loses his next 2, I think he sticks around. So, welcome to the UFC. Want to see what he can do. He's a big guy, good striker. And I thought he fared very well here. He got his shit kicked in, but he still stood strong. What do we have here? Oh, Ignacio Bahamondes versus Jiyong, or Rongju, whatever. And this was, largely dominance from Ignacio Bahamondes. I think he was winning the first 2 rounds. Rongju didn't really do much, as the commentators pointed out, in round 1. It was really lackadaisical. Round 2, he turned it up. He was in his face. Same with round 3. But he was just caught. He was caught early in a guillotine in round 1, which led to a takedown, so to speak, just from the guillotine. And in round 3, he let his head get caught, and Bahamondes pounced on it with the power guillotine. It's fucking Italian, but he just cinched that thing up, and it was over. It was over and done, and within 2 seconds. So that guy's got a good, well-rounded game, Bahamondes. Good for him to get a submission victory against a relatively high-level fighter like this in the UFC. Coming into this fight, I was looking at them saying their weaknesses are submissions. That's how you can finish these guys, but neither one of them is going to finish the other one with a submission. And I was wrong. Sometimes that's just, even if a guy's a striker, but he's a well-rounded fighter going up against a guy who's only lost via submission, he's probably going to fill that hole and get a submission. Guys filling each other's holes. That's what you get from this podcast. Josiane Nunes taking out Romana Pasquale. This was a fun fight. Very fun fight. Pasquale making a short notice debut. She was much bigger. This fight was contested at featherweight. And Nunes was too much for her. But Pasquale still, was bringing it. Early on, she was going strike for strike with Nunes. Which, again, she's the bigger girl. But you don't want to do that with a girl that's got, I think 100% knockouts like Nunes. But Pasquale was doing well in round 1. Round 2, not so much. Round 3, she hit a takedown, but she was almost finished. Or I think she was actually almost finished badly in round 2. She was hurt badly and almost finished in round 2. So, Romana Pasquale, what she showed me in this fight is she's a capable fighter who's very tough. She's tough and she's not going away. Girl like her making her debut against a seasoned fighter who's known for knockouts and having less success with each round, you shouldn't make it out of that fight. And she did. So, welcome to the UFC. I say that like I'm fucking Mick Maynard. Alright. Terrence McKinney versus Perez. This was McKinney, which was a pick of mine. And again, I thought his submission game was something to be looked at here. But for us, his submission defense is going to be something to look at going forward. This was just another basic rear naked choke within 2 minutes. This might have even been within 1 minute. This was a very quick fight. I think like a sloppy, weird takedown from McKinney. And I forget how he even passed and got to the rear naked, but it was still very just a textbook victory, where one guy's on another level, and that produces a finish within a minute at the UFC level. So, very cool victory for Terrence McKinney. He's a guy who's got a lot of submissions early in his career, a lot of knockouts late. I mean, his last 5, 6 victories, I think, are all first-round TKOs, or KOs. KOs, really. And his submission game showed up for him big tonight. And got him a win at the UFC level. So, very cool for Terrence McKinney. He's 2-0. He's got a great personality. And fucking, you know, I don't know what he's got next. But I'd like to see him. I know he'll be stepping up. I'd like to see him fight someone with a name. Alright, Jin Yu Fry and Hannah Goldie. That didn't take place. Alejandro Perez and Jonathan Martinez. This was a, not a good fight. It was a fight. It happened. Jonathan Martinez got the better of him, I thought, but as soon as the bell rang, the final bell, I said to myself, it's possible. This went to Perez. It's possible. You know, he potentially stalled round 1, and he potentially stalled round 2. Round 1, I thought he clearly lost up until the last 2 seconds when he got a knockdown. Round 2, I thought he clearly lost up until the last 30 seconds when he had a big 30 seconds. And he was pouring it on Jonathan Martinez. Now, Martinez, I think, won at least 130-27. But anyway, Perez is a guy that has a knack for making close decisions. He has to, you know, he makes fights very close. Nobody steamrolls him. This was just another example of that. So, good win for Jonathan Martinez, and decent performance from Perez, too. Ramis Brahimaj, who I was calling Brahimaj, whatever. He's fighting, he fought Michael Gilmore. And as we saw in the main event, then with Terrence McKinney, this was your basic MMA victory. Takedown, back take, rear naked choke. I mean, Islam didn't get a rear naked choke, but you get it. This was pretty basic. Michael Gilmore doesn't belong in the UFC. He stepped up. He kept himself in a position to step up on The Ultimate Fighter the last season fucking 39 or whatever. And well, I say that with disdain, but I really love The Ultimate Fighter. And he stepped up. He didn't do well. Took a fight in the finale, I think, against Petrosian, who's one of the better fighters on that show. And he hung in there, but lost in the 3rd round. And now this was his real shot here. Came in shape, took a fight against a young fighter, up-and-comer. And he was smoked within 2 minutes. So, I don't know what he's got going on outside of MMA or whatever. Maybe he can still stick around and make a career in the sport. You know, he's still relatively young as a fighter, although old as a person. You know, he's 34, but he doesn't have too many miles. And I think Brahimaj, he'll be sticking around now. He had a close fight with Court McGee. And, maybe it wasn't that close. But this is the kind of win you need over a guy like Michael Gilmore. And I was skeptical, too. I thought, I expect Brahimaj to win and it to be a submission in the 1st round, to be frank. But if he doesn't do well, this will tell me a lot. Because I'm very sure Michael Gilmore sucks. So, that's what I thought about that. And Carlos Hernandez taking out Victor Altamirano. This was a razor-thin fight. I didn't know how to score it. At the end, I was just like, huh. I don't know, I guess I'll go with the guy in the black shorts. And that's what happened. They went 29-28, 28-29, 29-28 in favor of the black shorts. And Hernandez won. Hernandez hit a, what turned out, I think, to be a key takedown in round 1, which was a very close round. Thought he might have been slightly losing on the feet, but I don't remember the stats. Actually, I do remember the stats now. I think that was the fight where they showed it, and it was within 1 strike for all 3 rounds. That I'm very sure that was the fight. So the stats were dead even, and, well, the striking stats. And Hernandez, I think, won with pressure in the 3rd round and a takedown in the 1st round. Even though he didn't do much, he still won. So these guys are both Contender Series fighters who got on the show, on the UFC, the big show, with split decision victories on the Contender Series. And now they fight to a split decision here. Was it split? I think it was split. Yeah, and it was a razor-thin fight. Both guys sort of got over, so to speak. I think they'll stick around, but somebody had to win. So, razor-thin split decision goes to Hernandez, and, can't complain. Had to go to someone. So, overall, it was a pretty goddamn good event. You know, it wasn't the best card to begin with, which means the ceiling for the event is relatively low, but there was a lot of excitement. And overall, I thought the fight of the night was Gregory Rodriguez and Petrosian, but it went to Cachoeira and Jiyong Kim, which is still fucking great. It's a slugfest. Wellington, Turman, and Armen also got performance of the night bonuses. Both of them got 2nd round victories. So, yeah, a lot of young talent on this card. And guys that will be on the main cards in the future. Islam Makhachev, he's going to be I think a champion. I feel comfortable in saying that. He's going to be a champion probably by the time this year is through. That's my prediction. And it's not bold. Pretty sure that's your prediction too. So, alright. Thanks for checking in. And be sure to tune in a few days when I drop my preview video for UFC 272. Thank you.